Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Roma Forum podcast. My name's Anthony, and as always, I'm joined by Christian and Luca. We're coming off a nice 3 points in Salento against Lecce, the other Giallorossi. And I wanted to start today by just saying, I'm not a prophet, but I think that my article this week on the forum, at romaforum.com, by the way, shameless plug, was 100% accurate. I don't think it took a genius to figure it out, but it seemed like it was inevitable that Cristante would start alongside Pellegrini. So is there anything that we wanted to speak about specifically in terms of Roma Lecce? Well, there were some tops, some flops. What do you think, Christian?
For me, the biggest standout in the game, I don't know, maybe it's a surprise to some, but I think Salamakers was outstanding. I mean, that guy's technical ability on the ball in the attack is unlike a lot of players that Roma has had in the last couple of years, at least in my opinion. I mean,
Mhm.
the guy is very good on his feet. His agility is awesome. Um, I don't know, when he has the ball in that wing, I trust him. He kind of reminds me of like a faster Maicon, but more. I don't know, I guess skill you could say in a way, but I don't know, he's super quick on the ball. He knows how to distribute it properly. He doesn't wait too long. He's got great football IQ. He knows when to release it. For me, he was probably the top player against Lecce just in terms of consistency throughout the whole game, or at
Mhm.
least the entire time that he was on. Um, yeah, surprisingly, Cristante didn't have a terrible game.
He had a pretty
Like
good game. Yeah.
he's had worse games, but
Yeah.
being thrown back into the lineup there, I'm not going to say he played terrible. He just kind of he just did his job, right? What's expected of him, and
Yeah.
no more. Never goes above and beyond.
He did
But
record most passes in the match, though, from both sides. I think it
did
was
he? Okay,
53.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. Well, that's
If you're a FOT mobber, then they have him as the second best on the pitch
yeah, he
behind
was at
Salah.
7.9 or something, right?
Impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So, actually, the third best behind Svilar, but we won't talk
What
about
else is new, right?
it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, well, like I get like Salamakers, I mean, most tackles, most dribbles, most duels won. The guy is on fire. And it was really upsetting to see him get that yellow
Yeah, it's
towards
unfortunate
the
he
end of the
can't keep his
game. So
mouth
now he
shut.
missed Juve. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge loss against Juventus next week, and we'll cover that this week. But yeah, when he got the yellow, which was a stupid yellow, like just for, mouthing off or whatever. I mean, it's like, fuck, like can't afford to be losing a guy like that against a top team like Juve.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
for me, he was probably number one. I really liked what I seen out of Hummels had some good moments too. I know Luca, you were saying that, but yeah, for me, the top was Salamakers, and the worst for me, I would say again, maybe another surprise. Dovbyk didn't do much until he scored, which is what saved us. Fine. But between him and again Pellegrini didn't offer much, as per usual. It's
Mhm.
just the reality now. But those two guys for me weren't the best. I mean, they don't have terrible ratings on FOTMob like you're saying, but like I'm surprised Dovbyk didn't come out at all. I mean, when I seen Eldor warming up on the sidelines there, I thought it was kind of a guarantee that Dovbyk was coming out, but obviously Ranieri was going for the full out attack. We needed a goal, right? So yeah, he scored, he saved us, but he's not my top. I don't know. Luca, what are your thoughts?
yeah. So my flop for sure was Dovbyk, and I know he scored the lone goal.
Yeah,
That's the winning goal, but he just provides nothing to attack. I mean, it just maybe in Girona maybe they had a better attack, and all he needed to do was stand in front of the goal and hit it with his left foot, but doesn't seem like that's the case. And again, I didn't watch him in La Liga last year at all. Um, but you know, it's as we called him in the first episode. He's definitely the Ukrainian pylon for me.
he
Mhm.
Um,
just doesn't like. I don't know. He waits for the ball. Like I don't know. He doesn't like show for the ball. He doesn't play with his back
Yeah.
against the net. Like I don't know. He's got a good finishing capability, but like there's more to that when you're a striker. It's not like you
Right.
can't just be ball watching and waiting. I don't
That's
know.
what Jekyll had. Jekyll had that off the ball skill that maybe Dovbik has, but he's not showing right now.
Yeah.
What about top for you, Luca?
In a match that we anticipated would either be a blowout or, butthole puckered the whole entire match. It was the latter of the two, and I think, as Christian mentioned, that I would say Hummels for me was the top. He really, I think, solidified the defense pretty well. He did, I mean, clearance wise, he was at the close to the top, I think, with Indica. Just overall, really solid defensively, especially coming off of a total disaster class against Bilbao. So really, really good job bouncing back and solidifying. I think he's a starter. I mean, he's got the pedigree. I mean, he's got everything you need from a defender. He's got the experience at the top. Leadership abilities, and frankly, when he makes mistakes, one thing that I like about him is he owns up to it. He doesn't hide behind anything. He doesn't make excuses. He says, "I fucked up," and sorry, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And do I wish he didn't make the mistakes that he has made this year? Absolutely, but I think it takes quite a bit of courage for him to admit that he made mistakes. But in this match particularly, again, when my butthole was puckered the whole time, I felt a little sense of, I guess, at ease when with him back there. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to qualify this and say, I think number one for all of us was Svilar. I mean, man of the match, unbelievable. The guy has, it's like one or two fewer clean sheets than Sinner on Inter. So, I mean, the guy's otherworldly. For me, I think my number one, besides Svilar, which might be a little bit of a surprise, I'm going to go with Soulé, just because of the maturity that he's shown, and under Ranieri, up until this point, how much he's grown. Was it a huge offensive showing for him? No. Like, he wasn't dispossessed. No big, he had one chance created, but I think his maturity and his development as a player was most perfectly seen in his ability to track back. I think he had 6 recoveries, 1 interception. The guy was playing really hard, and because of that, I think that he definitely has to get the nod. I mean, he's definitely the starter. When Dybala's absent over Baldanzi, even though we want Tommaso to get those minutes, I mean, he is good. He belongs on a big club like Roma. And however, get a little off track here. I would say Soulé is my number one. For flop, I think I'm going to disagree with you two. It's hard because, Dovbik didn't do much besides score. And I feel like, though, when you say that about a striker, he didn't do much besides score in a match 1-0. I feel like, okay, like he's there to score. He was, not the best before he scored, but he did his job. Angelino, for me,
if being dispossessed 4 times is doing his job, then all right, that's fair.
To be honest, Luca, he could be dispossessed 11, and if he scores the one goal that wins, that's really what he gets paid for. That's what matters.
I just mean more in terms of what he did when Eldor wasn't out there. It felt
right,
but
no.
They're both
I mean,
3
listen,
points.
like it's a fair point. And when you're playing against a team like Lecce, who has only beaten Roma once in the modern era, right? And everyone played okay. When we talk about flops, it's not really the end of the world. And with that in mind, I would say Angelino for me was the coldest. I think he had 5 duels, the whole match, aerial and ground, and he won 1. And he's not exactly the the defensive wingback that, maybe Chelik might be better at. But again, like accurate crosses, he was 50%. Long balls, he was 0 for 4. That's not good. It feels like, when he plays like that, is that him? No, of course, it was a bad game. But when you see that sort of play from wingbacks, it like makes me nauseous because it seems like we're regressing. And those were areas that we really struggled in, basically up until this year when Celik turns into, I don't know, Cafu or Alder, all of a sudden he's reborn under Ranieri, and
not to mention,
Angelino is
Angelino's total, miss in front of an open net. I mean, so.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, listen, it's Lecce. It's not the end of the world. Everyone played okay. I mean,
and you're away. You're not,
yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. Away against anyone. Christian, you said this the first episode.
Yeah,
like
Roma can't play
plays
away.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a problem. One player I think maybe we could talk about a little bit more is that nobody's really mentioned yet is Kone. And Kone had the most dribbles, which was 4, and he also lost the most duels. That's between Roma and Lecce. He lost 10 duels. And he came off of a pretty, decent showing with France. So, for me, in an ideal world, he plays a very important part of the midfield for Roma, even after Ranieri, whoever the next manager might be. But any other thoughts on any other players?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, no, let's just ask ourselves, or at least Anthony, ask yourself, if Dovbyk didn't score that goal,
Yeah,
not
well,
have been
he
the
would have been
biggest
the
flop
worst
of the
player
game?
on the pitch for sure. Absolutely.
Right?
But he did. And you know
Yeah.
what they say? If my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bike. So we got to, deal with what we have. And, speaking of future managers, there was a really intense rumor that Allegri was the number one recently. I think we recorded the last podcast, and then it was like, oh, Gasperini signed. They're just waiting to announce it to Allegri 100%.
We were
It'll be
downplaying it
him.
too. We were like, oh yeah, I was saying like, oh, I think Gasperini's the best choice because like we just kind of thought it was 100% all but official.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's not the case anymore, and apparently this guy's been chosen now. So
I mean, honestly,
I'm all for him.
Yeah, I mean,
and who knows? Next week it could be you, Anthony.
Yeah, it might be. You never know.
Yeah.
At this point, we don't know. I don't think anyone knows. You can't go from Gasperini 100% to every other article was like sarà Allegri 100%, right? It will be Allegri 100%, no doubt. I mean, guys, come on. We're not going to know until Ranieri finishes out the season. Am I hoping it's Allegri? Yes, absolutely. I tried to, in a very diplomatic way on the last podcast, say, Gasperini might not be the best choice. Maybe Allegri is what we need. Allegri, 100%. I'm on the Allegri train. Even if he's got, Sule playing left back or whatever, he's what we need. He commands respect.
He's a serial winner, as you said.
Yeah, he's a serial winner, and he commands respect. And to be a successful coach on Roma, you need to first and foremost command respect. Ranieri did it. I think that Rossi did it, although he was sacked so quickly. Whatever. I mean, Sunday we won. We got the 3 points. The teams we needed to lose, and I hate saying that. You guys can share what you think, but anytime you're in this position, and it seems like Roma's in this position every single year, where you're depending on results from other teams, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Like take care of your business. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Win games when you should win them, and you don't have to worry about if Fiorentina wins or Milan loses. Thankfully, Milan did lose, but We closed out the week strong, 1-0 against a team that hasn't beaten us since like 2012, right? And speaking of relying on other teams for results, in my article too on the forum, I mentioned how in 1986, Lecce, who was relegated to Serie B, they were done. No more Serie A for them. Beat Roma at the end of the season to hand Juventus the Scudetto that year. So, even though it's Lecce, there's this rivalry, this history that exists between the two teams, and it felt good to win. Any other thoughts, or?
No, I just want to add that, like, just on your point, saying that it's not good to rely on the results of other fixtures throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
I've seen me and my dad say to each other every week, Roma does this every single year, and it happens
Mhm.
within the first 10 weeks of the season between September and Christmas, or even before, even November. It's like we drop points against these bottom table clubs, and again, I've said it in the past, no game in Serie A is easy by any means, but the games that you're supposed to win, or at least, capitalize on the chances that we have, we drop the points, and it comes back, come around April, May, when we're, fighting for top four, like we've seemed to have been doing for the last decade. Um, we kick ourselves in the foot, or we shoot ourselves in the foot, because it's like, if we didn't drop 6 points this whole year against Como, would we be in this
Mhm.
position? No, we would be comfortably in fourth place.
Yep.
As it stands right now, mathematically, we would be comfortably in fourth place. Like,
Yep.
that's statistics. I mean, it always is the first 10 weeks. We somehow,
And
it's every
me,
year. It's just every year. It's so
Yep.
frustrating.
and I'm included in this, but some of us, and I say it, I feel like I've said it the past 5 years. When we do drop those points early on, my initial response is, well, it's early yet. Let's just,
Yeah.
at the rest of the season. And then the end of the season comes around and we're thinking, damn, we should not have dropped.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
If we had just, scraped
Yeah.
maybe 1 point or, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We always say that though, whether it's week 3, like saying like there's a long season ahead, as true as that is, it's different to say that if you're losing a game against, Inter or friggin' Venezia. Okay, I'm okay losing week 3 to Inter, but
Mhm.
dropping points against Como, man, like
Yeah.
and I'm not, and like, they're doing great things over there. I'm using them as an example. Just like, again, just recirculating back to my point, is dropping these points against these bottom table teams within the first 10 weeks fucks us in the end every year,
Yep.
like,
No,
religiously.
you're right. And it's funny, you say, oh, Como's doing good things. But it seems like every year, it's what screws us in the end are drop points to like newly promoted sides.
100%.
Como, I can think of points we dropped to Benevento,
Yeah.
Spezia, these
Oh,
teams,
yeah.
Crotone. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Crotone, like being one of the matches that decides whether or not we finish top four, it's extremely painful. And worst of all, I think it's pathetic. It really is.
100%.
And, to be groveling for these.
Thankfully, Ranieri has done a great job of settling the ship.
For sure.
He's done exactly what he's asked to do.
Yeah, and sure, they probably are the most Italian results you'll ever see that we've had under him so far. It's nothing, whatever, 2-1. But at the end of the day, 3 points are 3 points. So.
3 points are 3 points, and 1 goal is 1 goal. Thanks to Dovbik. So.
Fair enough.
All right, guys. I want to thank you for listening. We hope to see you midweek for our review against Juventus. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in on our socials. We're always open to doing any sort of Q&A. And don't forget to check out our website, romaforum.com, where we post articles every week. Thank you for listening again, and ciao.
Ciao, ciao.